You're listening to the Discussing the Resilient podcast, hosted by Aiden Smalley and William Reid, a competitive 40k podcast for the servants of Nurgle and the fallen 14th Legion. Tactics, meta-analysis, and all things Deathguard.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the, was Discussing the Resilient podcast, but possibly the Redacted podcast now as we're...
No, it's the 2CP podcast now.
2CP podcast, yeah. So obviously we've got some very big news. We've got loads of 10th edition stuff. A lot of data sheets have come from the live streams that GW have done. So like every other content creator linked to Deathguard, we're going to run through them, give some hot takes, and I suppose some clarifications as well, and then maybe just sort of talk about how we think they're going to slot in. And I mean, obviously, another starting point, I suppose. I'm guessing everyone saw, or a lot of people have seen the Art of War tier list of the leaks. Deathguard remain in D tier. But to be fair to Art of War, though, they are just reviewing the stuff that's come via the actual leak. So, you know, they said themselves that they're being sort of quite sceptical. So, you know, in that sense, as we said in hour one, they don't look the strongest from that leak. But then we've seen more data sheets, and I think there's a bit of a glow up. I think there's some strong things in there. I mean, what are your thoughts, Aiden?
Yeah, I think GW definitely did us dirty by not showing us these data sheets. I feel like they held the good stuff to the back end, so I'm actually a lot more positive at the moment. I also think that in the Art of War video, if you actually watch it, they don't really give a reason too much for why Deathguard's in D-tier. I think it's just a bit of a meme, like, hey, we'll put them in D-tier for the laughs. So, I mean, anyone out there, don't take any tier list seriously. Nobody really knows anything, and like Will said, it was just based on a faction focus. But, I mean, I'm feeling confident that Deathguard is probably going to sit in the mid-tables, like the mid-tier, which is a good place to be. I don't want an overpowered faction. I don't want an underpowered faction. I like being like nicely in the middle. I think we have play. I do think we have weaknesses, but that's, you know, every army should have, you know, weaknesses and strengths. Yeah,
that's fair. So I suppose without further ado, I guess we should probably just fire into it, because I think we were saying before we start recording, it's likely going to be a long one. So we'll obviously, you know, we don't have visual with this, so we'll do our best to try and sort of read out the data sheets as best we can, but without sort of, you know, making it into like an audio book. We probably won't read every rule, probably just highlighting the data sheets, the ones that we think are stand out, and just try and maybe do summaries and what's changed from the current data sheet.
Yeah, but we could put this we're using this link now, which goes to like an imager folder with all of the anything that's been shown on this, like basically the GW stream from Kansas previewed a lot of Deathguard stuff. It's just a collaboration of all the images of data sheets that have been revealed. So what we could do is you can link it in the description. So if you're listening on YouTube, feel free to click that link, pull it up, and go through it as we're talking with us.
Yeah, it's a really good idea, actually. Yeah, great shout. So I mean, I suppose, you know, start at the top. I guess start at the big boy himself, our Master in Chief Mortarion. So I mean, do you want to run through it, Aiden, or shall I? What's the best place to start here?
Yeah, I can take us through him. So, obviously, big expectations on your Primarch. You know, it's for a lot of people, it's their centerpiece model. I'm not a massive Morty fan, like historic myself, but we'll see, because this is a really interesting data sheet. So, starting off, we got obviously stats. So he's now movement 10, which is a bit of a bummer. Lost 2 inches movement. However, he is toughness 12, so he's pretty fucking tough. Toughness 12, same as Knight, same as Land Raiders, better than Angron, so he's probably going to be the pinnacle of Primarch toughness. A 2+ save, Will, finally.
Yeah,
they did it.
That's a big deal.
It is a huge deal, because the amount of times I'd take chip damage on Morty from something like AP0 bolt guns, just because, you know, every 3 wounds that puts on him, you're going to lose 1 average. So just being a lot more immune to like low strength, and also, like, you know, with the increased strength to T12, you're going to be a lot harder to wound from those small arms fire. Combined with a 2+ save, you really, like, chip damage on Morty's just not really going to be a thing. So I'm quite happy to finally see him get the 2+ save he should have always had.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a very big deal. I mean, you know, even something like Armour of Contempt coming back just on Morty might have been nice, where, you know, you reduce AP by 1, but I mean, it's back to sort of wish listing at that point. I think that there's some, and the movement thing makes sense. Let's be realistic. It always seemed a bit odd that he moved 12 when everything else in the army was sort of capped at 10. So I think thematically that does make sense.
Yeah. So yeah, we got 16 wounds now instead of 18. Doesn't matter anymore, really. I mean, obviously 2 wounds less is 2 wounds less, but The whole problem with Morty being 18 wounds in the past was that he could be shot through obscuring terrain. That's no longer a thing. It's now the towering keyword, which he doesn't have, which means Morty can hide behind obscuring terrain, and that is actually quite a big deal. Obviously, because it means that you can now, there's more places Morty can be relatively safe. Obviously, you still have to be careful. You still just have a giant wingspan. He's a huge model, and it's still true line of sight, so any point of the wings. However, it's now possible to hide him, and that wasn't a thing before, and that was one of Morty's biggest problems, is eating a railgun turn on. So
I think it's worth also mentioning at this point about how towering works a little bit, because obviously we've referenced it there. So towering works now both ways. So in the past, in 9th edition, if you could see it, say you could see a big knight, if you could see it through obscuring terrain with windows, you could shoot the knight, but the knight couldn't shoot you back. So it was kind of one of those things where that was one of the reasons why big models had a problem. But now the towering keyword works both ways. So if you can see the knight can also see you. So there is worth caveating that with Morty. He can hide, but if knights become, meta, or there's loads of towers within the meta, if his wings poke over the top of something that's obscuring, he can still be seen and shot. So it's a massive bonus, and I think it's going to give him a lot of play, but depending on how the meta shapes out, because it does look like it might be a vehicle heavy meta, but then obviously it might also be there's not a vehicle heavy meta because so much anti-vehicle stuff. So that's something to sort of bear in mind when we're talking about Morty there as well. He could, he could still be a liability because of those ridiculous sized wings he's got, but fingers crossed he's going to be able to hide and be a bit more of a force multiplier.
Yeah, another thing to bear in mind is there has been a change to the fly keyword, where basically it's not possible currently for models like Morty to just move over terrain anymore. It's a bit weird, and I'm not sure if the intent was to work this way, but currently Morty has to basically either go diagonally up and land on terrain, or he has to go around the terrain. He can't fly directly over terrain, which obviously then limits him quite a lot and means that playing in those ruins for safety is a bit riskier, because obviously you're limiting your movement a lot more. I'm not too sure if this is intent, because it feels very clunky and very weird, but rules as written, that is correct. So we'll have to sort of come back to that one when we get a bit of clarification. Hopefully it's not the case and he can just fly over an L. That would make me very happy. But if it is, again, just bear in mind that might be another thing that's sort of yes, Morty can hide behind L's, but being in an L will basically reduce his movement to quite substantially. So just bear that in mind.
Yeah, because he's got a large size base, and I know movement 10 is big for the Death Guard, but it's still quite slow compared to the overall game. I mean, obviously other factions the best example is Bellicor, because it's a similar sort of silhouette on the same size base. He'll have to experience the same things. That's not just a Death Guard problem we mentioned there, and like Aiden said, it would be interesting to see if that's a wording error that GW have put in there and it's going to get FAQ'd, or if it is something that every faction is going to have to adhere to. But on a whole, though, I think there's some positives there, from Morty. I mean, so should we go into his weapon stats?
Yeah. So just very quickly, leadership 5, so better than your average Marine. That's fine. And objective score 6 is actually pretty decent. Don't get me wrong, he's not going to beat off any actual troop units, but if he goes into 5 Terminators, for example, he does take it off 5 Terminators because they're OC1. So that's not bad, not bad. Yeah. So yeah, do you want to go into his abilities or his weapons?
I don't know, I was going to say with the object control thing as well, don't forget as well about base size, because Morty, objective 6, he's got a big base. If you're landing right in the middle of an objective, it might be that it's hard to sort of get enough bodies on to take the objective without also engaging in combat, so there is still some play there as well. So I think objective 6 could be quite big in his particular instance. But skipping on then, so obviously you mentioned, I think do range weapons first, I suppose.
Yeah, so we'll go for his range weapons then. So Mortarion, now obviously Psychic is now kind of shooting attacks rather than spells like it used to be. Now one thing I've noticed is we have lost his Phosphex Bomb grenades, but he does have the grenade keyword, so he can use the strat to chuck out a couple mortals if he wants. But his Psychic attack is now Rotwind, which is 18-inch range, D6 plus 3 shots, hitting on A2, obviously, strength 7, AP2, 1 damage, and with the blast keyword, so every 5 models in a unit will get an extra shot. Devastating wound, so any 6 to wound is going to cause a mortal wound instead, because it's 1 damage converted to mortals. And lethal hits still, so he's still got that auto wound 6 to hit, so that's quite nice, but it kind of counter synergizes with the devastating wounds, because obviously if you get a devastating wound, auto wound, you don't then cause a wound roll, so you can't proc devastating wounds. It's technically counter synergy, but it's not really like something to be like, ooh, that's a bad design. It's not really. Don't get too annoyed about it. And also, obviously, it's a psychic attack as well, which, you know, has different interactions with certain units. Certain units being better against psychic or having, you know, certain interactions. But overall, all in all, you know, decent little psychic attack. Nothing crazy, but, you know, potential for mortals is always decent. AP2 on it is quite nice. So I think it'll, you know, nice for picking up some mid to low tier infantry and maybe even pick up a marine or two.
Yeah, I mean, it's replaced the grenades that we've lost, hasn't it? Really, it's psychic sort of in place of that in terms of being a similar profile and a similar sort of battlefield role, I suppose.
Yeah. So his other weapon is the lantern, which is his pistol. So it's pistol keyword. Now, do remember, because of the rules in 10th edition, monsters can fire all the weapons regardless, because normally if you fire pistol, you can't fire anything else. They have actually had the foresight to deal with this, so the monster keyword will let him do his psychic power and fire his pistol. So you don't have to worry about picking one or the other. It has also sustained hits, so any 6 to hit is going to deal an additional D3 extra hits. That seems to be like the replacement for beam weapons. It's not bad. 18-inch range, 1 attack, so again, you're not really going to get sustained hits unless you get lucky, but when you do, it's going to be funny. Hits on a 2, strength 9, AP 3, and a flat 3 damage. So it's not going to set the world on fire, but there's going to be that game when you roll the 6 to hit and you roll 4 hits because you got D3 on the sustained hits, and then you just like you obliterate something, which is going to be really funny. But you know, at the end of the day, it's a pistol. Don't like sit there going, this is gonna pick up everything. It's, you know, it's one-shot pistol, but it does have the potential for fun.
It's lost that rule as well, hasn't it? Where, you know, you could draw the line to the target and hit everything under the line as well. So that's
yeah. It seems that anything that had that rule has been replaced by sustained hits D3, because all the Votan beamers have also got their sustained hits D3 rule. That seems to be like the replacement. Avatar also has that because he had a beam on his sword, I believe. So that seems to be the go-to rule for like beam weapons. But yeah, overall, you know, we're never really here for Morty's ranged weapons. It's decent psychic power and a decent little pistol, but you know, nothing to write home about, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the next bit then is his combat, because I think the combat... Yeah, the combat where he's taken a massive nerf. So I mean, obviously, you know, it's silence, it's the scythe, and the strike and the sweep are both there. I mean, in terms of strike, it's 5 attacks, weapon skill 2, still hits on 2, strength 14, so he's going to be wounding most things on 2s or 3s, AP 3, and then damage 4. So obviously the big one there is the attacks and the damage, because the damage was previously 3 plus D3, whereas now he's locked at 4, which is a little bit sad. And the attacks, he's gone to 5 attacks as well. So I mean, that's a smash. And then the sweep, it's okay, but the sweep's got 15 attacks, still hitting on 2s, strength 7, -1 and 1 damage. So I mean, that's his combat is. I think General Yanis did a video sort of breaking him down, and sadly I think he kills like one and a bit Terminators in a round of combat. So in terms of combat, and he's just not going to do much damage, unfortunately, is the reality. He's not going to punch the way that he used to. Unfortunately,
when it comes to Morty's combat, both the profiles have a problem. So the strike, the actual profile I don't mind, strength 14 is good, AP 3 is good, even flat 4 I don't mind. Obviously it's not as good as it was, but I can take 4. But the problem with that profile is the attacks. It should, like, why not 7? Like, yeah. Come on, like 5 is so low. Like, again, if you go into anything for 4 up invulnerable, like, you may be luckily getting 2 through, which, you know, it's not great. And then if they have any, you know, strats or anything like that to reduce your wound rolls and stuff, because you got to remind, Morty doesn't have rerolls for himself anymore. He potentially can. We'll get into that later. But he can't pick himself for 4 rerolls to hit, and he can't also like pick himself for like, you know, reroll. Well, he can do that, but again, you give up something else for that. You do ignore modifiers though, so you are pretty reliable. But your Bane is basically going to be rolling natural ones. So a bit of a bugger. But anything that like, I don't know if that's fine. Ignore me. I was going to say like armor contempt, but we'll get to it. He has a rule to deal with that. So, but yeah, it's not enough attacks though. Like, you can't reliably kill. Like, you go into combat with a big knight, and the problem that Morty's going to have now is he can no longer reliably kill. Even if you land them all, you do max of 20 damage. The knight then slaps back with like a flat 8 damage gauntlet, and if you make someone lucky in bones, you can get Morty just one tapped. So you gotta be careful. He's definitely not the melee powerhouse. And when it comes to the sweep profile I think pisses me off more. But I don't know if it's Morty that annoys me here, because 15 attacks is good. I'm happy with that. That's fine. Weapon skill 2, yeah, that's fine. Strength 7, AP 1 damage, I'm okay with. It's actually not a bad profile. But then, have you seen the Lion?
Yeah, the Lion.
I'm okay with the Lion being better than Morty in combat to a degree. But the one thing that annoys me, and it's not exactly the Lion's 8 attacks, given that's 8 attacks and 16 sweeps, which is ridiculous. But the Lion's sweeps are damage 2 and AP 2.
I mean, realistically, the Demon Primarch should probably be a little bit stronger than the Loyalist ones. I mean, if you're going off the...
Yeah, and that's the problem. His sword is a big sword, and it's a damage 2 sweep, so it keeps killing a Marine. This is a literal, what? How big is this thing going to be in lore? A 14-foot scythe or something stupid?
Yeah, it's massive.
It's fucking huge, and you're going to tell me it's 1 damage. I'd have been fine with it being 1 damage if the Lion's was also 1 damage, but I mean, I shouldn't complain about the Lion too much, because the Lion's really pushed. That data sheet is fucking nuts.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very clearly it's been pushed.
It's probably the strongest thing that we've seen in the game at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and you shouldn't really compare something to that, because it's not a fair comparison to Morty, but it does just leave a bit of a sour taste in your mouth. But if you're going into something like Chaff, Guard, Gaunt, it's a good sweep. It's still not a bad sweep. But when you go into Marines or something, he's in a weird spot where if he runs into mid Marine quality, 10 intercessors, it can actually take him a while to get through that. Which is kind of weird, because you don't want to sweep because the sweep's not efficient enough, but the strike doesn't have enough attacks to deal with a unit of 10 quickly. So yeah, I'm in a weird mindset of Morty.
Well, when we read on to sort of cover the rest of Morty, I think Morty is now intended to be a force multiplier rather
yes,
than a
definitely.
sledgehammer.
But again, that's so weird when you think of a Chaos Primarch. Chaos Primarch, they even said in the Chaos Space Marine, lore deep dive and why we designed them like they are, Chaos usually are more selfish as individuals, and the Imperium's more about the synergy between them, and the Chaos is more about individual powers. So it's kind of doing a 360 on Morty, which is both cool and also kind of sucks on his actual output. But we'll go into the abilities now, because that's where Morty then actually really starts to shine. These abilities are really good. So do you want to go for him, Will?
Yeah, I could do that. So I'm gonna have to get a bit close to the screen. So Horse of Plague. So am I right in saying he has to pick one of these in the command phase? Is that right? It's not.
It's start of the battle round. So you don't have to wait for your turn, which is very nice and very welcome.
So yeah. So the first one is Miasma Pestilence. While a friendly Death Guard unit is within 6 of this model, each time a ranged attack targets that unit, models in that unit have the benefit of cover against that attack. So basically, -1 to hit. So,
no, it's +1 armor.
No, is it +1 armor? Sorry, my bad.
It's cover.
Oh right, yeah, my bad. Yeah. So +1 armor's all right though. I mean, it's not a bad thing.
It's good because then you've got Mortarion basically with armor contempt.
Yeah.
One thing I have to keep reminding myself is core keyword is gone, so this does affect all of our units. So Plague Burst Crawls are going to be 2 up, -1, ignoring the first AP. Your Marines are all going to be 3 up, because remember you can't get to a 2 up save against AP 0, but it will again negate AP 1. So that's a really solid ability to have. The range isn't huge, 6 inches, but I'm happy to have a Mortarion walking around with a 2 up save ignoring the first AP. That's pretty tough.
Within 6, so it's important to know it's not wholly within 6, it's just within 6.
Yes.
You need to have one model in the unit towing into the aura, and it gets the benefit. So you can string out from him if you're able to do that. So that's important, because you can stand behind a wall and still give out his benefits.
Now, a lot of people do think this is a little stronger than it actually is. Not because it isn't strong, it is a very strong effect, but cover in 10th is just generically easier to get. If at any point any of line of sight to your model goes through a ruin or something, even a wingtip is behind a ruin, you get the benefit of cover. So actually it's quite easy to get cover naturally anyway. Just keep a backtrack behind some terrain, Morty's wingtip behind some terrain, and you're getting cover on those saves. But again, it's not a bad rule to have. If you got one of those, bowling alley boards, at least you've basically got a moving terrain piece.
Yeah, I mean it's something, isn't it? I mean For me, it makes more sense on like sort of vehicles and things like that that maybe be a bit harder to get cover normally. So the next one is Diseased Influence, which is another aura. While a friendly Death Guard unit is within 6 of this model, each time modelling that unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. So basically the old plague weapon rule. And again, it's another 6-inch aura that you can just tow into, and it's not locked to infantry or anything like that. So again, we're back to sort of demon engines and things also getting the benefits. I mean, it's alright. Like that's pretty usable.
Decent aura.
Yeah, like it's one of these things where obviously I'll run through the third one, then I'll sort of say what I was going to say there. So the last one is Toxic Presence, another aura. While a friendly Death Guard unit is within 12 of this model.
So 12 this time, everyone, bear in mind. The other two are 6 inches aura, this is a 12-inch aura. Yeah,
and you add 3 to the contagion range of that unit. So there is a combo there with the Demon Prince, which we'll come to later when we get to his data sheet. That's the first thing that springs to mind. But what I would say is, in terms of those 3 abilities, they're all good, they're all usable. You know, they've all got sort of play. They're not setting the world on fire, as Aiden said. It's not like, you know, oh my god, you know, he's busted his shit. They're all.
Just imagine if we just said Arch Contaminator and had old Arch Contam, but worked on all guns as well without range.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. But yeah, it's all right. Basically, he's solid. I think is the response about Morty. He's not bad. I definitely don't think he's an auto include. I think
he's an interesting choice.
I think it's going to come down to points. And I mean, let's put it this way: if he's 220 points, which he definitely won't be, then
he's in every list.
But if he's 420, you're probably going to see him never. You know, that's the reality with Morty. I think it's going to all come down to his points. Like, if he's pointing,
I think 420 might see him play, but I think that's when it starts becoming like you play a Morty list or you don't play a Morty list. Because one thing I do think is good is stuff like Blight Haulers with the Melter on them, rerolling 1s to wound on Melter and stuff like that, because Melter just loves to roll 1s. That's quite nice. But I do think he does. So obviously he still has some. We'll finish off his abilities in a second. He does have a couple more. But you know, for those 3 abilities, choosing the host of plagues. Like again, not setting the world on fire, but 3 decent abilities. However, like the magic starts to come in his next ability, which is the Lord of the Death Guard. So it's another aura. And it's while a friendly Death Guard model unit is within 6 inches of this model, that unit can ignore any or all modifiers to its characteristics to any roll or test made for it. That's pretty fucking nuts. So you ignore movement modifiers, you ignore hit modifiers, you ignore wound modifiers. Suddenly, your plague burst crawlers that are firing over the top of terrain, now just ignoring that hit penalty completely. You're worried about getting 2-inch move terminators from Barb Gaunts? Nah, ignore that completely. I also let you ignore Armor Contempt, because it modifies your characteristic of AP. So you just ignore that. You ignore -1 damage, because again, it's a damage characteristic flat. You can't modify it. Can't -1 to wound it. Can't -1 to hit it. That's a pretty fucking bonkers aura.
It's a good aura, definitely. I mean, the problem is though, it's still an aura, and it's not going to be a whole army. If it was something like, whilst Morty's on the table, your whole army, which I know is, we're back to
that would be absurd, yeah.
Because the problem within units within 6 of him, it's not going to be a huge amount. So this is something I want to say quite early on with this. I think because I've watched a few other people running through this. What we've got to caveat is, when you're looking at like defensive buffs, you've got to weigh the points of getting that buff into your list against the cost of just having another unit. For example, if you're bringing in Morty for, say he's 420 points, and you're bringing him in, to sort of ignore some movement modifiers, and the main reason is because you want to have your demon engines in cover. But if it's the same cost to, say, a full unit of 3 Blight Haulers, instead of bringing Mortarion, do you just want another unit of Blight Haulers? So you see you've got twice as many Blight Haulers, twice as many wounds on the board, because you might find that's more points efficient. So I think this is one thing I want to caveat earlier. I think later down this list, especially when we get the Plague Surgeon, there's definitely that to sort of consider, because everything looks great in a vacuum, but then when you start thinking I'm spending points on this, what are the points against just buying more of the unit that they're buffing. So that's something I think that we need to see points, but bear that in mind when you start thinking about competitive play and competitive lists, because that is that's going to be the crux of how strong or weak some of these data sheets are, I think.
Yeah, and with Morty as well, like everyone's like saying like, oh, it's really good that if you can like let Plague Burst Crawls ignore line set penalty, but if you're also then being too passive with Morty, you're basically paying 420 points to give like 3 Plague Burst Crawls plus 1 to hit, and you wouldn't do that if I just said that. If I said to you, you kill this model, make sure you Plague Burst Crawls plus 1 to hit and ignore modifiers, but it's 420 points. Like, he still has to contribute on his own, and he's not going to be able to do that if he's just babysitting at the back lines. He does at some point. He's going to be an investment model that needs to get his points back at least in some capacity. Not all 420 if he is. We keep saying that. It's just a meme like guess.
Yeah,
but he has to earn some back, because unless he was like, if he was like old Gilliman, which was like just an aura reroll, hit some wounds, he probably could make his points back from just being absolutely absurd, but he's not that absurd with his auras. Very good, I do think he is very good, but at some point Morty has to go and get some points back, and that's not going to be achieved by babysitting Plague Burst Crawls all game. So, and that's where you start to get into things of, is he actually going to be tough? We're also got to remember we're going to go into a meta with Oaths of Moment existing. So anything like Marine players being the most common army usually. Historically, they've always been the most common army because everyone has Marines, and they're going to have that ability to just tag Morty with full rerolls to hit and wound every single turn until he goes down. And he's T12, 2-up save. He does have a 5-up feel no pain, which I forgot to mention. Obviously, he is very good. He's tanky, he's hard to kill, he's nice, good model. Obviously, doesn't have -1 damage innately, so do bear in mind.
I think he missed as well.
Yeah, 4+ invulnerable. So he's quite tough, but there's only so much he can still put up. He won't be able to, sit there with an Oaths of Moment turn after turn. He will go down, and at that point, you got to wonder: can Morty's auras and ability to impact the game make up the cost of him? So we'll have to see. I don't want to speak about Morty too much anymore because we've already took quite a bit of time on him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be an interesting piece that you test out.
Sorry, definitely.
I'm dying.
I think it's going to come down to points. Is the sort of bottom line with Morty, and I think that's something that we're going to have to sort of see how that comes out in the wash. But so moving down, then obviously the next one is Plague Marines. The next one in our sort of like picture slide or slideshow anyway. So I suppose the Plague Marines stat line, it's kind of similar to what we've got at the moment, to be honest. Annoyingly similar in some senses. Still movement 5, still toughness 5. It's still being toughness 5 that sort of grinds my teeth a little bit. I don't understand why they're not toughness 6. Because everything else has gone up a +1 toughness. Why not the Plague Marines as well to match the new toughness system? So I mean, toughness 5 is still toughness 5. Don't get me wrong, but that's something that I think could have been a bit better. Save still 3+, wounds still 2+. Leadership 6+, and then Obsec 2. So each Plague Marine counts as 2 models on objectives.
So fairly standard with the stat line. Again, wounds 2 is going to be weird for us to get used to because Disgusting Resilience gone. So 2 damage weapons are now very scary as a Plague Marines, whereas before they were very inefficient against them. So I'm going to die so many times because I'm going to put my guys out there thinking they're going to live and they're just going to die.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing with Plague Marines, isn't it? I mean, we're going to keep coming back to this, but it's down to the points. If Plague Marines are pointed well, so you can maybe bring sort of something close to a horde, then there could be some sort of place in having just to see your bodies. But as we know with Marines, that's probably not going to happen. There probably are still going to be like an elite troop where you're still a bit sort of limited. And imagine sort of around 60 would be the most you could put into a list. But we've yet to see. So I don't know.
We'll do their ability first because I'm just gonna say now, I'm not gonna sit here and break down every ranged weapon for Plague Marines. We know Meltagun stats, we know ones. Stuff. Yeah, we'll highlight the special ones like a Blight Launcher because that's unique to our faction. But we'll go with the ability first. So it's a bit boring. This is kind of what made me a bit down on Plague Marines. It's not bad, but it's only whenever you're in range of an objective marker you control. If you take a battle shock test for this unit, add 1 to that test. It's alright. I would prefer if it was just an objective marker, not one you control. And add 1 to battle shock's obviously a very big mechanic and very important. You don't want to be battle shocked, but It's just a bit boring.
I mean, it basically means if you control an objective, it's harder to uncontrol. I mean, obviously, Chaos Knights doing -1, then you're back to +1, you know, because that's what their faction ability is on the. I forget what the Battle Shock test. Sorry, I forgot the name for a second. So you kind of, it's not bad. But
no, it's not bad. It's useful. It's just a bit, like I said, it's a little boring.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I think in terms of the, you know, the guns, I mean, I think we talked about them a little bit on the last one as well.
Yeah, because these share a lot of weapons with the Terminators. You know, Blight Launch is still the same. We covered that last time. Good weapon. We have got Plague Bolters on these guys as well, so that's pretty, you know, interesting. Plasma Gun is standard. The Plague Belcher and the Plague Spewer, though, I am interested in. So it's the same stats on the Terminators. Anti-Infantry 2+ on the Big Flamer, Anti-Infantry 4+. I'm really interested in trying out a Belcher bus, which is, you know, I'm going to get 10 Plague Marines plus like a caster, shove them in a Rhino with 2 of the Plague Spewers on him, load the rest up with like melee weapons and stuff, and just drive around and fire like 2d6 Anti-Infantry 2+ out the top, you know, ignores cover flamers every turn. Yeah,
because if Rhino's got a shooting deck now, so 2 of the models in the Embark squad can shoot while still in the Rhino. So
yeah,
I thought that looked quite good as well, because you can sort of make a Rhino a pseudo pseudo spitter drone.
Oh yeah, like that's actually quite clever. That's a good way to think about it, really.
Yeah, and then you can also we can do the trick, can't we? You drive the transport, the objective. If people kill the transport, then all your object gets out, or all the models with your objective control, then you sort of take the objective back. So it kind of leaves people with sandwich situations where it's like, well, you know, what are you going to do? Obviously, come close, you know, do you kill the Rhino? Because if you kill the Rhino, you lose the objective. Blah blah blah. So I think there's definitely some play with that.
Yeah, I don't think they're a bad unit at all. The melee weapons did get a bit of a change. We have lost beloved Plague Cleaver.
Well, it's still there, isn't it? It's just there, is it? It's a sort of. I'm. One of the things I want to say here, but I suppose we'll sort of. So the way they've done with the plague weapons is, or the combat weapons, they've lumped them like they've done with the combi weapons on Terminator. So it's not a combi melt or a combi plasma anymore. It's just there's a heavy plague weapon and a bubonic weapon. What's which? I mean, I'm guessing we're going to sort of see this, like, there must be one somewhere. Like, what is a heavy weapon? I mean, I assume the cleaver is a heavy weapon. Maybe the mace.
So it says every 5 models in this unit, up to 2 of them can have them replaced with heavy plague weapons. So I'm gonna guess that is supposed to be like the flail and the cleaver.
Okay, that.
And I think bubotic weapons are your maces and your axes. And then your knives, obviously knives. Now I'm okay with this change in general because a lot of the bubotic weapons didn't get, like, you know, the mace and the axes. It was just, you know, just let me model what looks cool. I'm fine with, you know, strength 5 AP2 1 damage on the bubotic axes. Again, remember, any time we talk about a Deathguard weapon, just assume it has lethal hits. It's like our army's like go-to bread and butter. Everything 6 to hit auto wound. Really nice ability to just have. So, you know, all these melee weapons having that ability at strength at AP2 as well. Really nice. 4 attacks per guy as well with those bubotic weapons. So,
also,
really nice.
I'll let you finish. Also, there is a typo, what looks highly likely to be a typo on this data sheet as well. I don't know if anyone's noticed this already. I actually noticed on another content channel. The Plague Bolt pistol, I think, will hit on 3s. I think that's a GW not proof.
I didn't even see that. It's on 2. Yeah, that's definitely a mistake. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. So just be aware with that one. That is just sort of obviously until there's an FAQ. If you've got your bolt, it does hit on a 2 because its rules is written. But, you know, don't expect that to be there for forever. I imagine that'll get picked up pretty quickly. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. If your game hinges on you winning because you hit on a 2 of a Plague Bolt pistol, then, you know.
I mean, fair. It's one hell of a game.
But yeah, our cleavers and our flails have been consolidated into, I think it's them too anyway, consolidated into a generic profile of heavy plague weapon. So it's 3 attacks on weapon skill 4, so you technically still have the -1 for the cleaver, but you are now strength 8, which is, you know, same as the cleaver, but the flail has gone up to that strength.
Yeah,
AP2, so cleavers come down 1, but flail is actually, this is actually better than the flail on the Terminators, because their flail's AP1. And it's a flat 2 damage, so, you know, no more D6 rolling a 6 and it's blowing up a Rhino. Yeah. But it does mean, and also a power fist on a sergeant is a heavy plague weapon.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say.
Yeah, so in a squad of 5, you can technically have 9 strength 8 AP 2 damage attacks with lethal hits. From 5 guys, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think they've got some good play in combat, and again, obviously you've got the Foul Blight Spawn, making them fight first. So again, you can load up your party bus. Put a Foul Blight Spawn in there. Put maybe a Malignant Blade Caster, and the Foul Blight Spawn can also use a shooting deck as well with his even better auto hitting Plague weapon.
Yes.
But again, it's back to points is the thing we need to see, because this is the thing. When you load up, does the Plague Marine, the supporting characters, and the Plague and the Rhino, what does that all cost compared to, say, buying individual
20 Marines or something? Yeah, or something like that.
So this is what we need to see, but it does seem that there's going to definitely be some play and possibly a build focused around sort of like a Rhino Rush style, which I think
that's what I'm going for. Like my first list design, I'm going for something like that. I've just ordered like a lot of Plague Spewers. I'm gonna like paint them up and get them ready, because I'm really interested to try this like I said, Belcher bus idea. So I think that's the first list I'm going to be trying out, so I'll let you know how it goes.
Nice, yeah. I mean, I've got the oldie Plague Marines. I'll have to get some flames, I think, and maybe chop the barrels off or something, and try and do something, put some different barrels on or something. I'll get creative in there. Yeah, I agree. I'm seeing something there as well. Yeah,
I don't think they're as terrible as people are saying. A little boring on the rule, but I think they're still really good. Again, just got to be a little more careful now to damage 2 weapons. But yeah, and grenade keyword. Obviously, we lost Blight Grenades, Blight Bombardment, rest in peace. But we do have the grenade keyword. I'm going to imagine the Biologist Putrefier probably lets us use the grenade stat for free if he's in the unit. So 3 mortal wounds every turn. Not going to complain.
Yeah, I think something like that could be really good. But we'll have to see once we see is because no spoilers here. That datasheet hasn't been leaked as of yet. But moving on then, because unless there's anything else you want to say about Plague Marines before we go on, I think that's covered it for me though.
No, I think I'm good. Like I said, I think I'm quite happy to try them out. I'm quite excited to try them out, and I think they'll actually surprise people with their output.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm 50-50 on them. I mean, you mentioned that you're seeing Rhino Rush. Everything I'm seeing is making me think just Demon Engine spam.
I think that's the mindset of Deathguard players, and a lot of people are leaning towards heavy Demon Engines. And other people are sort of going like the Rhino Rush route. I'm on the Rhino Rush team. You can be Team Demon Engine. We'll see how it goes.
I'm thinking two Rhinos packed with the kind of the load that we talked out, and then everything else Demon Engines is what I'm thinking. So you still have something there, and because obviously then the Rhinos and the Demon Engines, it's a similar shooting profile. So it's a sandwich again. You're shooting a Rhino, then it's a flesh smoke coming at you or whatever. Yeah. Speaking of Demon Engines. So play first call. So I've got some opinions on this, but I'll let you run through it first. I think me and you differ from when we've talked about this. I think you're quite high on them, aren't you? I am quite high on these things. So obviously we saw the Plague Burst Mortar and the ability last week. Now I've seen the full profile. So I will give it this one. Toughness 10 was a bit of a letdown for me. I thought this thing might squeak to 12 or 11 at least. Because these things were originally the same toughness as Land Raiders and Knights and stuff, but maybe it would be too much. But it has got a 2-up save now, which is really nice. Again, stops that chip damage going through. It suits a 2+ save. I mean, have you seen the giant shield on the front of the damn thing? 12 wounds, still a nice profile to be at. Objective control 4, which kind of surprised me given it's just a big derpy tank. I thought that as well. I thought it would have objective control, maybe it's even 1 or none. So So to see it on 4 has got me thinking I'm going to do bumper cars again. Moves 10 as well, so it's quite speedy. That's quite nice to have. It does explode. A lot of models explode. I'm not going to keep mentioning explode. Demon, big monsters and vehicles explode. The usual. So one thing I'm going to give you, I am quite down on entropy cannons. This is what makes me... I'm not feeling the Plague Burst Caller at all when I'm looking at it. I mean... Really? I'm probably I mean... I just think it's a confused unit. I think it doesn't really, to me, have a role. It's trying to do this, it's trying to do that. I just don't think it does anything. Like, I think to me, like... And this is maybe something we could expand after we sort of finish the data sheet. I can't see what its battlefield role is. Because it's like, if you're standing it behind a wall to shoot our line of sight, then you're wasting it to the guns. If you're pushing up the field to use its entropy cannons, then obviously you're moving to the mortars not as efficient. To me it just seems like it doesn't know what it's doing. It's the fact the entropy cannons have got to 24. If the entropy cannons are still 36. Yeah, so we'll go through the entropy profile just for people listening real quick. Yeah. So we have had a loss in range, as Will said. So we've picked up lethal hits again. So 6 hit auto wound.
but we have dropped from 36 to 24-inch range, and I will 100% agree with Will. Ouch, that do be hurting.
I hope that's a typo. We did see the typo on the Plague Marine datasheet. I do hope that's meant to be 36, and they've just... Because it seems really weird it's gone to 24. There's no reason to me...
Yeah, I didn't really see anyone complaining that entropy cannons were just too dang powerful, you know.
Well, if anything, they weren't sort of efficient enough. The thing that makes me weird about that is, I'm jumping the gun just to the bloat drones datasheet. The heavy blight launcher is still 36, so it's not like a sort of a faction specific sort of like, you know, everything's going to be max 24.
We don't want anything to be over 24, yeah.
Yeah, so that was what surprised. So I really hope that's a typo, but I also am 99.9% sure it's meant to be 24 inches.
Yeah, I think it is meant to be, unfortunately. I'm a bit down on them. They've also changed to still hit on 3, still 1 attack. Strength 10. Which is fine. That's fine. AP 3, so not AP 4.
Strength 10's a disappointment.
I know. I was kind of hoping they'd be more like 12, but you know they were only like strength 8. They weren't last cannon strength. We need to remember this.
What we've got to remember is with Deathguard, though, just ignoring individual data sheets, we haven't seen anything yet that's straight up anti-tank.
No, I do think anti-tank is going to be a little bit of a problem. We do have a lot of lethal hits. They do have lethal hits though. I think someone mapped it out, and it's about roughly the same. So it's not, it's not the worst. The AP 3 down from 4, to still keep AP 3 is nice. AP 4 is now very rare. So I'm okay with that. The damage is the bit that kind of upsets me.
I think that the damage, possibly, I think the damage should have been D6 plus 2 or D6 plus 3. I'd have liked the strength to have been 14, and then I'd have liked the range to have been 36, just to keep us in line with what we've seen from the other factions, like direct anti-tank, and that I would expect that to have maybe been our best anti-tank profile in the army, and nothing's as good as that, but that's our anti-tank. Whereas, unless there's something we haven't seen, it just seems like anti-tank, games have just seem to have forgotten that we need to kill tanks. So that's what sort of surprises me with that one. Like I say, I know, there's still ways to do it, but I haven't seen anything that would wound a repulsor on more than a 4 yet. Outside of maybe Morty in combat. So that's what sort of...
Yeah, I do think the high toughness thing is going to be a bit stingy. I think we're going to basically be praying for a lot of lethal hits. But I get what you mean. The D6 plus 1, I would, I guess like they're doing it for a lot of profiles. But it's going to feel really bad still when you roll that 1 and you do 2 damage. Having a floor of 2 and a ceiling of 7 is a bit of a weird feeling. I didn't mind the 3 plus D3. Maybe they thought it was too consistent. I would have happily taken even like D3 plus 2 over D6 plus 1.
It feels to me that the entities, they've just changed it for the sake of changing it without really thinking what they're changing it for and how it fits with the army. Which that's how it feels to me, looking from a distance. It just feels like they just haven't really thought about it, sort of like in terms of what its battlefield role is. But anyway,
so 2 front weapons. We've got the heavy slugger and the rot hail. The slugger's basic hasn't changed. Strength 5, AP 1 damage, 4 shots.
Looks good. I think the fact
Slug
it hasn't changed,
it looks decent.
Harder to get that AP 1 and
I was surprised it kept its AP.
The slugger looks good. Like the slugger looks out because the rot hail volley gun did that not have AP before? Or?
It used to have AP 2. This is what really sucks about the rot hail.
Yeah,
it was a strength 6 AP 2 1 damage, and now it's strength 5 AP 0.
Yeah, it's weird that the rot hail took like a bit of a nerf, and the heavy slugger stayed the same. Which is obviously a boost for the heavy slugger. So in that sense, I'm not bad. I've no hard feelings there. And the mortar, as we talked about in the last episode, I think the mortar looks pretty good as well. I don't know if anything.
Yeah, the mortar's the best bit of this thing at the moment. The mortar's just going to be, especially when we get into the next data sheet, the mortar just really starts to shine.
And then what about the plague spitters then? I mean,
I'm team plague spitter at the moment. Me, I'm probably going to end up using these things to push up with the rhinos and play bumper cars. I loved it in 8th edition when that was the thing to do with them. I've missed it all of 9th because obviously entry became the meta in 9th, but 2d6, ignores cover, auto hitting, anti-infantry 2+, AP 1 and 1 damage. Sign me up any day. I'm not going to complain about that.
Okay, so what do you see as a battlefield role? So when they move, do they take a penalty for shooting the mortar, or is it because it's a vehicle? So they can still move and shoot the mortar without penalty then?
So there's no such thing as penalties when moving anymore. Heavy isn't... heavy is a keyword, but it's just a benefit now. If you stay still, you don't actually get punished for moving. So you can move, you can fire all these weapons, hitting on freeze, and then just spray something nearby. I also like the spitters because it kind of takes away the need for them to be babysat, because like 5 Marines teleport in and want to tag your vehicle. Plague spitters can deal with that. You can Overwatch. Remember, Overwatch can also be done at the end of the movement phase, so they're actually pretty good for looking over objectives and being like, oh, you just tried to steal that with 10 guardsmen. Here's 2d6 flamers plus the cannon plus the slugger. Have fun with that one. As you just go. Psh.
Maybe that's their battlefield role then, because I've always thought was a long range unit that clears things that you can't necessarily get to with movement. So if you're seeing them as something that sort of closes a distance and sort of maybe becomes a threat themselves, then
especially with the OC4 as well, I think that I think these things can actually become quite bullies. Like if your scenario you said before, you got a Rhino on a point with 10 guys in it. To take that point, you have to pop the Rhino, but then 10 guys are going to get out. Now, if you put a PBC on that as well, that's just great. You're not killing all that in one turn, and then that objective is going to get infected. And at that point, then you can start to pull away because we have sticky objectives. You pull the PBC maybe it's behind some line of sight, but so it can see the objective but can't get shot. And then that scenario comes up into play where, okay, you want to steal this objective. Now, we got to remember, our sticky objectives are different. We don't actually lose them the second someone takes them. We lose them at the end of a turn that we don't control them. So they come onto the objective, it's still ours, they're still contagioned, then we pay the CP, we Overwatch, spray them off it, gun them off it, cannon them off it, and then it's, they're all dead and it's back to being ours.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe I'm a little bit more up on the blade burst causing after sort of talking about it like that, because I was thinking that I was looking at the entropy cannons and thinking, well, for spitters, I'd just take a mower drone, or sorry, not a drone, like a Rhino with guys on the top or whatever. But okay, I think there's some play there then, especially with this being smaller move. I think with the mortars probably are going to be really valuable. So what about the Lord of Virulence then? Because he's next on the list now. I've again got mixed feelings with him, but because of the units he can attach to. But I know the datasheet is pretty good. So what are your thoughts here? I mean, should we
this guy? Well, I'll just preface it by saying this guy is going in every single one of my lists, 100%. I loved him before. I think he's even more insane now. But yeah, we'll go for him. He's a Terminator, so he's movement 4 for us now. Kind of sucks a bit, but oh well. He's T6 though, very nice. 2 up save, 6 wounds, only OC1, leadership 6, standard, pretty standard. Obviously has deep strike, he's a Terminator and he's the leader keyword. He's allowed to join both Blight Lord Terminators and Death Shroud Terminators. Again, standard stuff, none of this is surprising. His Plague Spewer, and this is the one thing that I'm a bit down on, it lost 2d6 shots, went back down to d6, but it picked up Twin Linked. So it's the same standard anti-infantry 2+, but it can reroll its wounds because of Twin Link. Now, unfortunately, this definitely does have sort of counter synergy with his ability, because he, we'll get to that, but you'll see why. His melee weapon is a Power Fist. It's a Strength 8, AP2, 2 damage, 5 attacks with lethal hits. Hits on 3 though, because it's got the -1 obviously baked into the profile. Yeah. I'm not really looking at him for that. Nice little gun, nice decent melee, but really, his magic is in his abilities. So the first one is Master of Destruction. This is the one that kind of has the counter synergy. When he's leading a unit, each time model in that unit makes a ranged attack, you can reroll the wound roll. So just 4 rerolls to wound from shooting. Yeah, again, why has he got Twin Link then? Because he already does it in his ability. But, not okay. But 4 rerolls to wound, that's really nice. Never going to complain against 4 rerolls to wound, especially if you put him in some Blight Lords or even some Death Shroud. The Death Shroud gauntlets, which we'll get to later, are anti-infantry 4+. So having 4+ automatically wounds versus infantry with 4 rerolls to wound really increases how good they are. Put him in Blight Lord Terminators, you can reroll your Reaper auto cannon wounds, which have devastating wounds, so you can try and pick that up. You can put him with combi weapons and just try and get as many mortals as you can in infantry and stuff like that.
I was looking at this guy. I suppose I'll let you finish the data sheet, and then because
Oh, sorry, go ahead, go on.
Well, I was wondering, is he sort of worth putting with 10 Blight Lord Terminators, where you have 2 Reaper autocannons and 8 with bolters, and you don't go for any combat weapons, you just try and use it as a fire base and just go fishing for those, fishing for sixes and stuff like that on the wounds. I mean, I don't know if it's... I don't know what the points are going to be, because they're not going to move to where you want them to be, but if they become more of like a shooting platform, like you're saying, you don't have any like sort of out and out anti-vehicle stuff, and we can go fishing for the, I don't know, like fishing for devastating wounds or whatever it is. I mean, or lethal hits. I mean, sorry, it's not lethal hits because you've hit already. But do you know what I mean? Did you is that where you're seeing him? Because
not personally, no. And it's mainly because Blight Lord, again, points with standing, but if Blight Lord Terminators are still like 400 points for a unit of 10, I'm just not down for that. It's too much investment in one unit. I see him more with like 4 Death Shroud, maybe 5. Giving those, you know, full rerolls to wound on the Plague Spewer Gauntlets is really nice. But I'm really taking him for his second ability, because his second ability, which we'll go into now, each time a friendly Death Guard model makes an attack with a blast weapon that targets a unit that is visible to this model, so if this guy can see it and a blast weapon shoots at it, add 1 to the hit roll, and that attack has ignores cover. So guess what has both the blast keyword and likes to ignore line of sight? It's Mr. Plagueburst Crawler. So the penalties for ignoring line of sight are -1 to hit, and the target gets cover. This basically just removes all of that. So, 3 Plagueburst Crawlers in the back, or flying around doing what they need to do, bombarded into like marine bodies or anything that this guy can see. The fact that they don't get the cover and the AP1 now comes into play becomes real nasty real quick.
I have to caveat that where I think people are overhyping this, because I don't think the Lord of Virulence is going to see what you want it to see, because it moves 4 inches and he's got to come down with a squad as well to give him like a larger footprint. Like, say for example you're shooting guys behind the wall, is the Lord of Virulence going to have line of sight behind the guys that are also behind the wall, because he moves so slow? That's my... Again, we need to see it in game, but I think it's a great ability, but I worry that his movement is too slow for it to actually be usable with specifically the Plagueburst mortars, because of generally the targets you'll be trying to shoot with them. You know, trying to shoot like the far back corner of your opponent's deployment zone, where you'll have to like be in their deployment zone yourself to sort of see what you're shooting. I don't think the Lord of Virulence is going to be there with that particular line of sight. But again, this is...
I don't think that's actually what I'm going to use him for. I think the sniping backfield hiding units is the bonus. But I think just shooting stuff that they can even see themselves, the Plagueburst, because again, I'm using them with the spitters, so they're going to be quite aggressive, they're going to be quite up there. Just getting a flat +1 to hit, and because again, remember how easy to get is to get cover this edition. +1 to hit and just ignores cover. If you can see something anyway and you're shooting it, now you're hitting on 2s with your Plagueburst mortar and ignoring cover.
I suppose it could be good for the spitters, I guess. So you're always going to get your -1. So I guess that actually is quite good. I hadn't really sort of thought it past the mortars. So yeah, I think that.
Yeah, I think you're right though. I don't think the play is to use them to, you know, get a weird angle of a deep strike, and then, I mean, if you can, bonus points to you, but I don't think you're going to be like sniping off, you know, people who are like right back hiding behind L's and stuff. I think you got to be a bit more aggressive, you know, place your guy in a pretty good spot where you can get quite a bit of line of sight on stuff that you could see anyway, because even if it's just not shooting, even if you're just shooting into stuff you could already see, just increasing the efficiency of your Plagueburst mortars, is it just enough? Plus, it's not just Plagueburst mortars. Other stuff in the army does have blast. You know, if Havoc launchers are still free, we'll see. You know, Rhinos could then benefit from it. Defilers have battle cannons in the chest.
Morty's got blast, doesn't he? One of his weapons as well, I think.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, his psychic spell has blast. But yeah, Defiler battle cannon. You know, it's a flat 3 damage battle cannon. What sucks about the battle cannon? It's only AP1. So it's negated by cover, but now it's not.
Actually, like, we can talk a little bit about the Defiler, because we've seen the what's the Demon's equivalent one?
Soul Grinder, yeah.
The Soul Grinder equivalent. I think some of what the Soul Grinder's got will also be on the Defiler's datasheet. The Soul Grinder looks good. For example, the Soul Grinder can ignore terrain that's 4 inches. And
just move straight through it.
Yeah, and it can go out. So, and that 4 inches, even if the, you know, say it's a jaggedy bit of terrain where the lowest bit's 4 inches and the highest bit's 8 inches, as long as you can get over just the lower bit, you know, that's fine. So I think I assume the Defiler will get the same rule.
I think that's a fairly safe assumption to get.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't seen the Defiler. It's not been leaked yet, but the Soul Grinder, again, the Soul Grinder apparently is now sold on the Grit and Clean one size base. So the fact it moves over those 4 inches is good. So I assume the Defiler is going to go up that same ridiculous size base, but so that base is a big problem. But at the same time, though, if it looks half as good as the Soul Grinder, it could be worth putting 1 or 2 in. You know, maybe it'll have some better anti-tank weapons, and that'll fill the hole that I was mourning about as well. Yeah,
well, they can take las cannons as well. But the thing that I've got the Defiler stats. I haven't got them, but the battle cannon, you know, they have showed us the Lehman Russ battle cannon, and throughout all the editions, it's been the exact same stats. So yeah, you can just put 1 and 1 together. So it does work with that as well. So that's, you know, you can have a Defiler hitting on 2s with its battle cannon and ignoring cover, which is again quite, especially if you're shooting to Gravis. Because Gravis is now, you know, 3 wounds, but it's only a 3-up save, so now you can drop to 4s because you ignore that cover, and then, you know, you can pick up on Gravis every shot that goes through, and it obviously will have the blast keyword. Hopefully it'll be the same as the Russ, which is like D6 plus 3 shots. You know, that's not becoming a joke anymore when that starts slamming in. So I'm actually really up on this guy. I think he's going to be a lot of fun to play around with. Again, we haven't seen a lot of contagion. That's like the big thing. We don't know what his like direct counterpart does. So we'll have to see, but I'm big ups on this guy. I'm happy.
I think when we've talked it through in a bit more detail, I'm quite excited to give him a go as well. In mine, I've got one, but I haven't got it painted. I've done a conversion where his fist is up in the air, saw someone on eBay. Done it
nice.
Yeah, sort of copied someone else's idea. But yeah, I'd quite like an excuse to put him on the table. So moving on, should we just skip Blightlaws? Because we talked about them quite a lot last week.
And there's nothing really else has been revealed for Empire, like what they can take, which we kind of already could guess from what they could currently take, so we'll ignore that. So Power Blight Spawn's our next guy. Really simple one to go through. I'm going to start skipping the stat lines for all these guys because it's kind of like this. It's kind of like your average. All variants are the same.
I think
the Plague Marine stat line with 4 wounds.
Find online as well. I mean, we probably want to talk.
Yes, it's a Plague Marine stat line with 4 wounds. That's it. Yeah, so a very, very simple one, this guy. So he has his nice Flamer again. It's anti-infantry 2+, so ignores cover. Strength 7, AP 2, 2 damage, D6 shots. Sadly, obviously we can't get the pathogen to let him reroll the shot amount, so he's got a little worse in damage output, but, you know, the Flamer was always the secondary reason you took the Blight Spawn. We all know the real reason you used to take him was Stench Vats, which is now, the actual ability on the fella.
Yeah. Now,
well, not as
people
good.
Get too excited about the Fire Blight Spawn, though, the biggest downside to him is the units he can attach to. Because obviously you'd really want to put him with some Terminators. Really.
Oh, yeah.
You only go with Plague Marines. But as we said, the Plague Marines do have a really good combat profile. So if you put them in the Rhino with them, Rhino explodes. You know, the kill it in the shooting phase. You get out behind the walls and you've got to charge the unit that's in it. Now, the way that Fight First works in this edition, the defending opponent always gets to use their fight first. So it's the same as it used to be. It's a true fight first. So obviously you can use defensively quite well. So I think with him, again, sort of, you know, maybe he's skipping past it. We can talk about the gun afterwards, but I think his role is going to come down to his points. For example, if he's 150 points and a Plague Marine's got his 100 points, there's no point spending 150 points to keep 100 points alive. It's, you know, it's just not good economics. But if he's 60 points and a 10-man Plague Marine squad is 200 points, you know, I think you might want 2 of these guys for your 2 Plague Marine squads. I can see Liz taking multiple of him if Plague Marines are good and his points are efficient. Is my hot take on it anyway.
He's gone up in my books, and do you know why, Will? Because your opponent finally can't use him against you.
There you go. Yeah, you hated that, didn't you?
I hated that, but you can't do it now. It's just a nice, simple, easy rule. The unit just fights first, which again, as Will said, now if you're defending, does take priority over your opponent. So a very nice rule to have. Again, this guy totally depends on points. Can't put him in Terminators, bit sucky, but he's, you know, you're not going to complain. Fights first is really good. Flamer's nice and decent.
If Flamer is good,
solid.
Yeah, because we did skip past the Flamer profile. We won't go through his profile.
I went through that, mister.
Oh, there you go. There we go. We don't need to And it's basically AP2 and damage 2, which looks good to me.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the Foul Black Spawn covered, really, isn't it?
He's a very simple to understand model.
Rhino is the next one. We kind of touched on the Rhino, really. It's the same as a Space Marine. The only thing that's different, that's not different really, it's the same as Space Marine, to remember is that shooting platform we talked about. So, you know, you can put your sort of Plague Marines inside the Plague Spitters, Plague Belchers, and they can sort of, you know, shoot them out the Rhino, which is good. I think that's a big boon. And again, it carries 12 guys now as well, so you can put 10 Plague Marines in there with 2 buffing guys.
Yeah, the 12 capacity is the main bit that makes it like so much better. That's great. We love it. You know, a Rhino is a Rhino at the end of the day. It's a nice staple, you know, solid little transport. But yeah, you are right. The 12 capacity there is the real magic.
Well,
it's, you know, it's T9 now, so it's you know, it's good versus stuff.
They don't degrade for the movement as well. Which is
yes, that is so big.
Yeah, that I think Rhinos and Land Raiders. We need to see points on Land Raiders, because Land Raiders are classically, they have the best data sheet in the world, but GW have a habit of overpointing them, whereas Rhinos are usually reasonable. I think transports in general are going to be sort of key, at least the start of the edition. So if you don't own a Rhino, I would feel like buying 1 or 2 Rhinos is probably a relatively safe purchase at this point.
2 is usually my staple.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2. And like I mentioned before, I'm thinking, in my head, straight out the bat, I'm thinking Demon Engines, spamming them apart from 2 Rhinos with 10, each with 10 Plague Marines, and maybe 2 supporting characters, and then everything else, all the points is going to Demon Engines, and I just try and get as many as I can. That's how I'm thinking, although possibly we're going to come in a minute, the Demon Prince as well. But before we get the Demon Prince up, because we've got the stratagems here, I want to really highlight something. Me and Ian talked about this, and it's the Disgusting Resilient strat. And we talked about it, I think we talked about it in the last podcast, didn't we?
It wasn't shown in the last podcast, we just assumed it was going to become a strat, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so we'll run through it quickly, because if there's one really big thing caveat, and there's a rules as written thing, which don't play it that way, because I'll explain.
You're just going to get disappointed.
Yeah, so Disgusting and Resilient, 2 CP, so only in the fight phase now. Basically for 2 CP, and it can be any unit, it doesn't have to be infantry, you can play your Demon Engines, you can play a Mortarian, you can subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of attacks only in combat. So -1 is still there. Now, the big thing that I'm seeing everyone on the internet talk about, most people I think are going to side with us on this, but there's a few people who I think the pigs are going to fly in their world. I think that's how they're sort of obviously daydreamers, we'll call them. It doesn't seem lunatics. 1 to 0. Yeah, you definitely. 1 is going to be 1, guys. Just accept that now. And if you want to write in the comments and tell me otherwise, I'll just reply and say, you know, wait till the FAQ comes and I'll make you eat your words.
With this has happened before. We've had this exact scenario with the Sister Battle Paragon suits. They forgot to include the -1, you know, minimum 1. And then guess what? FAQ came out and it was meant to be minimum 1. There's no way in hell they're going to let such a toxic interaction come along as, no, you literally cannot deal damage this turn, because that's such a negative player experience. Everyone's going to hate that stratagem. It's just not going to happen. It's never been allowed before. I can't honestly see it becoming a thing. People are like, yeah, but it's 2 CP, it's dead expensive, yeah. But it's not, I just can't see it. Not in a million years, and I wouldn't play it as that.
I'll expand on my on what I just said. There's someone to challenge us on this in the comments. I'll happily do a bet with you. If you want to put something in the comments, we'll agree a forfeit, and whoever's right or wrong, I'll have to do the forfeit. Maybe you have to eat a sock or something like that. So if it turns out there's no FAQ, and you know, come the end of the edition or 6 months in or whatever, you know, he can reduce it to 0, then I'll eat a sock. And if someone wants to bet me on this, so they'll eat the sock the other way, then you know.
If it comes out and it is not to a minimum of 1 and it is, you can reduce it to 0, I will go out and buy a fucking Eldar army.
There you go. Yeah. We'll do some kind of forfeit, but I mean, basically, don't play it 1 to 0. Play it 2 to 1, or if it's a damage 1 attack, you just don't use a stratagem, you know. But I've seen people on the podcast sort of rules as written, and rules as written, it's right, you know. maybe for the first 2 weeks of the edition, maybe his tournament, you know, TOs are like, you know, its rules is written, so this is the way it's going to be, and you get like a couple of weeks here, there with it. But I
don't even see that happening. I think if you go to a tournament, someone comes in with a load of assault and intercessors, and you go, they don't deal any damage now, they're going to go Judge. Judge is going to come over, read the strat, and he's going to slap you and stop telling you to be a silly little cheesemonger. And of course, it's meant to be minimum 1.
Yeah, I mean, if I was that TO, maybe I wouldn't slap them and use that exact wording, but yeah, I would. I would
definitely slap them.
I tell them, take your 2 CP back. Don't spend that strat because it's going to do nothing in this instance. So I wanted to just clear that up because I've seen a few other videos where people are talking about it 1-0. It's definitely not going to be, guys, because it happened in the last edition, and there was the same backwards and forwards chatter that, you know, it's meant to be this and blah blah blah, and GWF FAQ'd it pretty quickly to say that you can never reduce 1-0. You can reduce 2-1, but 1 is always 1. So just sort of bear that in mind. So I think that's quite important. So moving on then, getting back to some more sort of positives. Now, to me, this is one of the data sheets, this next one, that stands out as being, unless it's pointed ridiculously, as being an auto-include in my list, and that's the Demon Prince. So I'll run through his stats, because his stats on this one, they have changed quite a lot from the previous one. Now, this is a Demon Prince with wings, actually, so that's quite cool. The one I'd seen previously didn't have the wings, so this is quite interesting to see. So one with wings, moves 11, so it's quick. It's a little bit quicker than most of the things, which is 10, an inch quicker than Morty. Toughness 10, so again, he's a pretty tanky lad. I did think I'd seen one that was toughness 11, you know, the one without wings. I might have to dig that out. Maybe that's a typo, or maybe that was just wishful thinking. Save 2+, wounds 10, leadership 6, and obsec 3. So I'm not sure how his weapons work, because it says the Plague Spewer here. So I'm not sure if they're assuming that people are going to use the old Ford Words Mammon model as their Demon Prince, because as far as I'm aware, there isn't one you can buy with a Plague Spewer, unless the newer one, the sort of bolt weapon, is what they're going to call a Plague Spewer. But it's range 12, attacks D6, strength 5, AP 1, so same as we've seen the other ones. The Hellforged Sword now has a sweep attack, which I think is one of the big benefits to this.
Yeah, that's nice to have.
But the smash attack remains pretty much the same. It's lost a pip of AP. Attack 6, still hits on 2s. Strength 8, AP 2, damage 3. And
very nice.
Sweep, yeah, so I think it's solid. And then the sweep is attacks 14, weapon skill 2 still, strength 6. The strength doesn't change, which is also quite nice. There's no AP, which is a little bit frustrating, but again, depending on what we go into, that might not be an issue. And then damage 1. Now, it's his other abilities, though, where I think he starts to sort of shine a little bit.
Yeah.
So each time this model ends a charge move, select one enemy unit within engagement range of it. That unit must take a battle shock test. Solid, but again, that's not to me why I think he's good. So each time this model ends a charge move, at the end of the charge moves, its Hellforged weapon have the Devastating Wounds ability. So again, he gets a charge bonus. Now the bit that I was looking for seems to actually be oh, there we go. So we've got
so they've actually separated the Demon Prince profile into 2. There is Demon Prince without wings, which is the aura you're looking for. The one you were reading there is the one with wings. So the one with wings is very much more of a beat stick character.
I've hot take that then. So I was expecting, yes. Right, okay. So maybe just ignore that one, because the one without wings looks way better. Because so he is toughness 11 without wings. I don't know why when he gets wings he loses a pip of toughness. Maybe he's...
Yeah, I mean, it's still decent, you know. And one thing to remember is now Demon Princes have a 2-up save and a 4-up invulnerable, which is a lot better than, you know, the 3-up 5-up they used to have. He's also toughness 10. The only thing to remember as well, 10 wounds as well, they don't have lone operative, so these things can be shot from the get-go. So just bear that in mind, everyone. But yeah, the Flying Prince is definitely just a big old beat stick, and a pretty decent beat stick at that, but it's nothing really to write home about after that. It's just going to fly around and just try and twat things that get close to it. The one Will's looking for, though, is the Deathguard Demon Prince. So do you want to actually go through the ability you wanted to go through?
Yeah.
Everything else is the same. The toughness and the move.
It's the same apart from he moves 7 and he does have T11, so I wasn't dreaming. So this is the big one. Grandfather's Blessing. It's an aura. It's a psychic aura. Whilst a friendly Death Guard infantry, it's a shame it's infantry, because if it was just Death Guard, I'd be over the moon with this. Death Guard infantry is within contagion range of this model. Models in the unit get a 6+ feel no pain. Now again, maybe it's not as auto-include as what I'd sort of say, because I think it's good. It's an exciting model. If you go on infantry heavy, I think it's brilliant, especially if you do decide to go down the sort of Terminator spam route, because again, the way sort of those 3 wound models work, if you do make a 6-up save and you can tank 2-3 flat 3 damage weapons on one Terminator, it's mega. So I think having the 6-up feel no pain ability is good. Again, it all depends on his points. I mean, I've got very excited about him because I think he looks solid to me. But again, if he's still 185 points, yeah, probably won't see him. But if he's like 140, then I think, depending on the build you want to go for, he could be really good. I mean, there might still be like a Poxwalker Horde build or something where, you know, that 6-up feel no pain really sort of comes in on some cheaper infantry units. And the fact he's now got a 4+ invulnerable save, which is obviously
very nice, and a 2-up save normally.
Yeah, 2-up save normal as well, sorry. So I think Demon Prince looks good. Like I say, maybe he's not as auto-include as I first got excited about there, because I'm sort of calmed down a bit on him. But when I first read him, I did think he looked pretty good.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it now, because you know everyone in the comments is going to be like, well, it's just the same aura as a Plague Surgeon, and he said he was unplayable. Okay, genius, let me explain one thing to you. 1, the Plague Surgeon's a 3-inch aura, not a 9-inch aura at max contagion, or 12 with Mortarion, because you can extend that. So, you know, it covers a lot more ground. And also, this guy actually does something in combat and can actually hit stuff, unlike Mr. Plague Surgeon, who was a wet noodle with a 3-inch aura. So, calm yourself, Timmy. It's not the same. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still a bit thingy on this, like, 6-up feel no pain for me, I'm just like, meh, whatever, sure. But the fact it is a much larger contagion range is nicer, and he's a lot more of a beat stick, and he's tankier himself with a nice 2-up, 4-up, so yeah, it's a decent unit. Again, it's all going to come down to points on this guy, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I say, sort of getting over my initial, I got a bit hyped it up, maybe it's a little bit too much there, but yeah, I think he's one of the ones who looks solid to me.
Tallyman, I think, is the next, and I still think he's going to be included in all of my lists. He kept his 7-fold chant. It is only in your command phase now, but it's the exact same ability. 2 dice on a 7-up, you get 1 CP, and in this edition, CP is a lot rarer to get, so it's still really powerful. He also gives the unit he's in just +1 to the hit roll, so, you know, he's Tallyman. He's the same pretty much. Bit worse for gen in CP, but, you know, I'm always going to include one.
I have some reservations about him. I also think he's probably going to be in every list, is the reality, because it does seem like CP is going to be so valuable in this edition. My, not concern with him, my caveat with him is I think Plague Marines are probably going to end up in Rhinos 9 out of 10 times. And if he's in a Rhino, you can't use his ability because he's not a lone operative. He's a model where I wish he didn't have to go in a unit. You could just get him on his own, stand him in the corner, and then if he wants to join a unit, he can go give him the +1 when it's ready. Otherwise, he's just there generating some CP, you know, holding the backfield objective or screening a corner. That's what I'd like him to do, because I think the fact he got attached to a unit is both good. Definitely hit him with +1 in combat and in range. Really good, really strong. That's definitely something you want. But I just think, because in my mind at least, you're probably going to want your Plague Marines in Rhinos. That's where I think you're not then going to get the CP ability when he's not on the board.
Yeah.
Or you have a squad of Plague Marines stand on your home field objective. And we haven't seen what Poxwalkers do yet, so we don't know if you're going to use them or not to do that sort of all classic role they had. But as soon as you have, say, 5 Plague Marines standing on the backfield objective with a Tallyman, is that too many points standing doing nothing? I don't know. That's my not a concern, but something that I think I would definitely sort of like weigh up when I was building the lists.
I mean, I'm a CP whore anyway. I used to spend all my CP going up to 0, and then just rely on getting it through the game. So like, I'm definitely going to be taking him because I really like command points and stratagems. But I think you're right. I think I'm probably going to put me like 5 Bolt Gun Marines on a home objective. But it depends on points. If he's like 40 points and 5 Plague Marines, he's like, you know, like 80 points. I can deal with that. That's fine.
Well, I think the ability stacks as well. By the way, I don't think, so when I say his ability is CP generating ability, I don't think it stacks in the sense that you can get 2 CP a turn.
But you can definitely roll more than once.
Yeah, I think that. So I think maybe because his other ability on Plague Means is good. So I could see, I could, depending on his points, I could see a build where you maybe take 2 squads of 10 Plague Means with a Tallyman in each, and then maybe a Foul Blight Spawn in each. Again, you know, that could be the most expensive unit ever, and it could be the points make it a silly choice. But that inside a Rhino, that might not be. It might not be an awful. It might not be an awful idea. We need to see points and sort of, you know, how that would sort of look with a wider list. But I am curious to see the tally. The Tallyman. I think I'm almost certain I'm going to take at least one, but I'd like to see his points. I think, and you know, and it's again the caveat is that it's a shame he couldn't go with Poxwalkers or being lone operative.
Yeah,
I think that would have been a big deal for him.
Death Shroud are next, and let me just say, why didn't you show these guys in the preview? If you would have shown these guys, everyone would have bust a goddamn nut. These guys are nuts. I love them.
I'll tell you, run through them then. So I think they're pretty good as well. Again, the 4-inch move frustrates me, but I think the rest of their profile more than makes up for that, if I'm honest. I think these are the Terminators you're probably going to take. Yeah,
so your gauntlets are still the same. You don't get double gauntlet on the Sergeant anymore, I don't think. But, you know, they're D6 shots, anti-infantry 4+, so that's really nice, and also ignores cover. So, solid profile. The Man Reapers, though, they've 4 attacks now, so you don't get extra one for your Sergeant. However, they do keep weapon skill 2 on the Slam, which is huge, because, God, that weapon skill 3 annoyed me like mad.
Yeah, that was.
Strength 8, AP 2 damage, really nice, really solid profile. Again, all this has lethal hit, so 6 hit auto wound. And they also have, is it 6 sweeps? I think it's 6 sweeps. Yeah, it's 6 sweep attacks. I don't think you're going to be using the sweep that much. I think you're just going to go with the slams, to be honest.
I think it's a shame that they didn't get 8 sweeps to see if they can just double that. I think that was a bit of a... It's a weird design choice from GW, because when you look at the slam versus the sweep, why are you ever going to use the sweep unless you're going into something?
Yeah, if it was at least like AP1, you could understand, but Strength 5, AP0, it's not even worth it versus Chaff, just slam the shit out of them.
Yeah, unless you're going to like Gretchen or Grotz or something.
Oh yeah, something really pathetic.
Yeah, but anything else you're going to want that AP, aren't you? So
yeah,
it seems an odd choice to me that they didn't make the sweep 8. But again, you know, this is sort of it's a good data sheet basically. Again,
it's a really nice, really dangerous in combat. But the real magic source is their ability, which is while there's a character or a squad, you know, joined to the squad, they are -1 to wound versus anything that has a higher strength than they are tough. So basically, unless you're being attacked by strength 12 or higher, you're transhuman, and strength 12 and higher, you're mini transhuman.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Power Fist needing 4s to wound you it just means you're going to win those trades every time. You've got auto hits and auto wounds as well. I think these guys are fantastic, honestly. I think these are going to be quite a staple. Again, every time we say caveat points, we've not seen points. If these guys are 80 points a model, you're not seeing them. Yeah, but if these guys are roughly the same, like 45, 40 points, yeah, I'm taking these big time.
Yeah, one of the first things I'll do, I want to see the points on these. I want to see the point on a Land Raider, because again, if what we've seen with Land Raiders, if Land Raiders are like points, you know, say they've got the anti-tank guns that I'm saying aren't there, so maybe you get your last cannons on it, and they also become a drop-off point with some Death Shroud Terminators to sort of fix that slow move, then, you know, that could be the foundation for a lot of lists there. But again, we're back to points, aren't we? Again, if that combo is 1,000 points, then it's not happening straight away.
So the next one is my boy Typhus.
Yeah, I think
I am hype on Typhus.
I was going to say, before you really start, I think Typhus and Death Shroud could be best friends as well in a lot of lists. I can see these guys coming in pairs. So
Typhus can actually join Poxwalkers as well as Terminators, so obviously there might be some interest in there. He has movement 5 for some weird reason though. I'm not going to complain, but you know, he's kept movement 5.
I think the movement 5 is a bit of a tell for what Poxwalkers are going to be.
Possibly,
I think Poxwalkers will be movement 5, because it's weird that everyone else is, but if he can go with Poxwalkers and he's there so he doesn't slow the Poxwalkers down, I think that's a bit of a tell. So I would put money on Poxwalkers move 5, which is a nice buff to them if they do. But anyway, sorry.
It's alright, so he's T6 now, 6 wounds, 2 up save, 4 up invulnerable, still really nice. His weapon got a bit of a glow up in some regards. He's got 5 attacks with strength 9 now instead of 7, really nice. AP2's down from 3, but he did keep that 3 damage, and he also picked up auto wounds on 6s, so really nice. That's a really nice profile, like 5 attacks, flat 3 damage, strength 9 AP2. We really like that. He also got his sweep still, again, auto wounds on 6s to hit, 10 attacks at strength 6, AP1, 1 damage. Now see, that's kind of why what I wish the Death Shroud sweep was. Obviously it's lower strength, but with the AP1. So, Typhus, you know, melee-wise, yep, beat stick, love it. Stat-wise, pretty good. His abilities, however, if he's leading a unit, anytime a melee attack targets that unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So this guy, in some Death Shroud, now you've potentially got -1 to wound and -1 to hit. That's a pain in the ass to get through. Really nice. And his other ability is the Eater Plague, which is a psychic attack. In your shooting phase...
Where he maybe doesn't go with Death Shroud.
Yeah, this is the only one slight problem. But it's still a very good spell. Select an enemy unit with an 18 invisible to him, roll a d6, on a 1 he takes d3 mortal wounds, your Typhus's unit does, so you don't want a 1. On a 2 to 5, the enemy unit just takes d6 mortals, you just super smite him. And if you roll a 6, it's d3 plus 3.
Well,
okay.
This is where maybe his Poxwalkers he does go with, because then Poxwalker can just be obligatory wounds for...
Yeah, for eating this if it fails.
Because that's the thing that would make me sad if he messed up his spell and then killed the Death Shroud. If Death Shroud ended up being like 50 points, that could be
But I mean, you got this guy walking around with basically a 2-up super smite. What's that about? That's nuts.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
So
yeah.
I'm so hype on Typhus. I want to try Typhus out. Typhus is my favourite character anyway, so I'm definitely going to be playing with Typhus, and the fact he can go with Poxwalker is going to be dead interesting, so I'm looking forward to giving this guy a whirl.
Yeah, I think Morty doesn't look great unless the points are singing, but Typhus does look like he's going to have some serious play.
Yeah, just being able to super smite someone in a turn is just like, you know, that's like technically anti-tankly. You roll 6 mortal wounds, there you go. Put a giant hole in your fucking tank.
Yeah,
and his weapon just really good. I love him. He's great. I'm going to definitely be running Typhus. Next up, Plague Surgeon. Talk about swing and a sort of miss, but a sort of hit.
This is points on the Plague Surgeon. So
but it was so close to being good though. It was. He just needed to keep his old ability as well. So for those who don't know, he's can now resurrect 1 dead model to a unit a turn in the command phase. Again, can only join Plague Marine, so that's a bit of a bummer. Would have loved to revive Death Shroud, but still a good ability. Not going to complain. We always said we wish he could resurrect the model. The problem is he's traded his 6-up feel, not paying for that. So again, I wish he just kept that as well. But he does have an ability still to heal. However, the heal is also now nerfed, because it can only heal characters, not just, you know, 1 wound models, Terminators and whatnot. So, again, it's like a side grade. I'm not really a fan. The biggest thing I can see with this guy is when you resurrect, it's the actual movement shenanigans you can get and objective stealing, because it's in the command phase. He's also got a weirdly good melee weapon. 4 attacks, strength 5, AP2, 2 damage, you know, not going to complain. But I still think I won't be taking this guy much, to be honest with you.
Well, the problem with him is what we were saying at the start, is the points to benefit ratio in terms of like the defense. So say for example, say over the course of the game he reses 3 Plague Marines, and say Plague Marines are 20 points each, so that's 60 points that he puts back in the list.
But if he's 60 points himself, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you would be better just buying 5 Plague Marines and just having more Plague Marines. So you couldn't res them, but you had more anyway. So
and I'm not going to lie, unless this guy is like 40 points, the chances of you getting more than 2 reses off in a squad before it's wiped are actually quite low. I just don't see him actually adding much to, like, if he had the Feel No Pain and the res, he adds more value there, but like healing another character is going to be really niche, because your character should be the last things getting killed in a unit, unless he's like, you know, they've got a hazardous weapon. I just, you know what, actually the more I'm reading this guy, the more I think he's fucking trash.
He needs to go with Terminators. If he could resurrect the Death Shroud, he might be talking, and then put 3 wounds back on Typhus, you know.
Yeah, that's big.
Be talking, but I agree. I think the Plague Surgeon, short of some kind of like ridiculous points, I don't think you're going to see.
This guy has to be like 40 points for me to take him.
Plus, you've got to remember as well,
because like you said, if he's 40 points, you have to res 2 Plague Marines to be like sort of even, but you know he's not going to be 40 points. He's going to be like 70, 65, something like that. He's going to have to res 3 Plague Marines to get his value back. It's just not happening.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's... and the game is also the other thing we're going to think about, because we have seen some We have seen some of the secondaries, and like Assassinate is still there, so you probably don't want loads of characters, which is where we might hit a problem. And again, with him, you might end up with this sort of, you can say you can only want to attach 2 characters to a Plague Marine squad. Do you want to attach him over a Tallyman or a Foul Blightspawn? Probably
yeah, exactly.
Not.
Whenever we talk about these, you've got the only thing you compare him to is the other Virion models. And right now, the Tallyman's doing way much more for you. The Foul Blightspawn's doing way much more for you. Obviously, we still don't know 2 of them, but at the moment, Plague Surgeon is at the bottom of the list of Virions, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we've kind of covered him really. His sword's got better in combat. I would just say I wouldn't run through the stats because at this point you'd be able to find it. But he is actually, I wouldn't call him a beat stick, but at least if he gets in combat, he can do something now. Whereas before, he was just all around.
But I'm not taking a Plague Surgeon for a beat stick.
But now the next one. So we've only got 2 data sheets left of the leaks. And in my opinion, I think these 2, I mean, I got a bit overexcited for the Demon Prince, but I actually think these 2 probably are the best for me, in my opinion.
No, I think this next one especially is going to be core.
Yeah, I'm thinking List with 6 could well be realistic. I'm 4 to 9, to be honest with you, is what I'm saying. I can't, because of what it does in it. We'll run through it, then I'll explain why I think 4 to 9.
So we are talking about Mythic Light Haulers.
Yeah.
So they've got a glow up. They're now T9, movement 10 still, 3 up save, 10 wounds each, objective control 3. They still have the same sort of loadout, so you've got Missile Launcher, Multi-Melter, Bile Spurt and Gnashing Maw. But the big thing really is their new ability, which is whenever you target a vehicle unit, just get to add 1 to the wound roll.
Yeah, and you can still take them in units of 1 to 3 as well. So that's still... which
another big thing they picked up is the smoke keyword.
Ooh.
So you can pop smoke on this unit, give it for 1 CP, give it -1 to be hit and cover, so you're reducing all AP against it by 1.
That's really good. And you can use Disgustingly Resilient strat on them, which is why I think you might want units of 3 with this one to get...
Yeah, to maximise the value.
That 2 CP.
We also know there's a strat to heal as well. It was used in the stream game, so it's not like forbidden knowledge. We just don't have the actual picture of the strat, but they have confirmed there is a strat to heal our models because they used it on Mortarion. So again, you can heal these. It's a really simple ability. +1 to wound is great. Everyone for some reason is comparing this ability versus Toughness 12 models. I thought Toughness 12 was going to be more common than it seems to be. I know they showed a fair few, but most vehicles actually seem to be T9, T10. So obviously that's a really those 2 numbers, T9 and 10.
Isn't bad.
It's like Land Raiders and Knights.
4 plus.
It's even that is good. But when you get to the T9, T10 where most vehicles are, they become really interesting because you drop it down to T8 with Contagion and then get +1 to wound. Congrats, you wounded on 2s. You got, if they were T10, they drop down to 9 and then you get +1. Now you wounded on 3s. You've gone from 5 to 3s or 4s to 2s. That's crazy powerful.
Their big bases. The big bases could work against them and work for them as well. The reason they could work against them is, again, you can move block them, especially if that's where you take them a unit of 3. You might end a problem if you just wrap one of them or one of them gets trapped somewhere, all 3 of them stuck. But the reason why it could be good is if you drive 3 on the objective, you can make it so if you park all 3 on the objective, it'll be really hard for any enemy to get 9 models on. Take them, or again, because the big bases, you could just tow the 3 bases on. They could just a millimetre on, just around the rim or something, and again, that's 9. So that could be the difference of taking it off, and they're not awful in combat as well, so they can charge in.
Decent.
And I think they're good.
If these keep the points they currently have, these are going to be fucking nuts, and I'm going to put for my 3 straight in the list with my guys. I'm going to buy some more if they are that good. One thing I will caveat is Multi-Melter has lost a bit of range, gone from 24 to 18. Again, not the biggest... I mean, it still sucks, but it's not the biggest problem in the world with these guys. These guys were quite aggressive pushing anyway. The Missile Launcher did go up to strength 9, though, which is quite nice. And again, that's going to have +1 to wound, so these guys are going to be cracking any vehicle they can see. Obviously, the tougher ones are going to be a bit tougher, but, I'm okay with Toughness 12 vehicles not dying instantly. I kind of want that to be the case.
Well, this is why I was saying I can maybe see 9 of them being a thing, at least at the start, or running out the index. Because again, it's weight of dice, isn't it? Fair play, I know you only win a Toughness 12 vehicle on 4s, but when you roll, 9 times 2 is 18. If you roll 18 dice at it, all of a sudden the averages start to go in your favour, and you can you have a bit of sort of weight behind it. And again, because the defensive profile is also quite good, it might be tough for some armies to take out. I think it's a possibility. I think we need to see points and a bit more. But if you're going to run the list I'm thinking, if with Demon Engine Spam, I'm thinking possibly 9 of them, and then 3 of what we're going to talk about next, which is Effective Bloat Drone, and then sort of padding out to sort of see what fills the gaps, and then maybe he's dropping a few Blight Haulers to sort of balance it out. But that's
I think they're very good. I think they're going to be in most lists. And can people on the internet please understand, not every single vehicle is T12. I know you like to think that, but it's not the case. Like, these guys are good, and that ability is really good. So, mega happy with them. Also, they kept AP4 in the Melter, which is like one of the very few sources of AP4 that we have. I think it's the only source. Palm Melter guns. So, yeah, happy with that. But yeah, the Bloat Drone's our last one. Yeah, the missile launch is really good.
AP2 is also worth mentioning as well.
A big bonus.
A lot of things lost AP, but that kept it, which again is also quite good. So the Effective Bloat Drone,
that's the last one we've got.
Yeah, I'll run through a bit of this one then. So movement, still 10, still quick. Obviously, flies, we talked about before, isn't as powerful as it had been, so unless there's an FAQ, that could be something to sort of keep in mind. Toughness 9, save 3+, wounds 10, leadership 6, obsec 3. So I think that the stat line is pretty much identical to the Blight Hauler, actually.
Yeah, it is.
And also Demon Engine, I don't mention it before, they've still got the 5 up invuln as well.
Which is huge in this world of, tanks becoming a lot more common. A lot of other tanks don't have invulnerable, so having an invulnerable is very nice.
Yeah, especially with the Obsec Control 3 as well. Now, I think these are really good, and I think there's a bit of a conversation to be had actually about this one as to what their role is and what their weapon is. Now, in a Demon Engine build, which is what I'm thinking, I think the Flesh Mower could still be the one, because the Flesh Mower has changed a little bit. It's dropped 2 attacks, so it's only at 10 attacks now. Still hits on 3s, still strength 7, AP 1 instead of AP 2, so it's lost a pip of AP, but still damage 2, which is big. But the other thing to mention is the Plague Probe, which before was replaced by the Flesh Mower, we didn't get both. Now the Plague Probe is additional hits, so you still get 3 attacks with that. Weapon skill 3, strength 6, -1 AP and damage 1. So I think with those 2 combat weapons added together, I think it's just a side grade. I don't think it's necessarily better, but I don't think it's much worse pending points as well. Now the thing that
I'm not sure if you get to swing of both. I'm not sure.
I think you can, guys. Does it not say?
I'm not sure if it's because a vehicle is allowed to, but I'm pretty sure you pick one still to swing with because it's the extra attacks keyword and it doesn't have that. So I think you will just get to swing with the Flesh Mower.
Right,
but it's still good profile, like 10 attacks, 7 AP, 1, 2. It's still good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
it has picked up auto wounds. Remember, it has picked up auto wounds.
Yeah. So the reason I'm saying the build that I'm thinking from what we've seen so far, again, and we still don't have all the information, which is very important to mention. If it is a Demon Engine build, I'm thinking you probably want to go with the Flesh Mower, because say you take 9 effective Blight Haulers, you've got your guns there. Their combat isn't good enough to carry you in some matches where you probably want some combat dedicated units to sort of balance that out. So you might want a Demon Prince and some Flesh Mower drones. But ignoring that particular build, which is something that I'm thinking about, there is a real discussion about what weapons to put on the Fetid Bloat Drone, because all of the weapons are good. Now, we've already talked about Plague Spitters, would just be kind of. They can take 2, which, as we know, is good for the same reason we talked about before. But Aiden's favourite weapon, because you were running this in 9th, weren't you?
I was running this, yeah.
It looks really good, really good.
Yeah. So the one thing I'll say is, I think everything on like you said, every weapon on this is viable, because the interesting thing is, whereas you need these to be your melee for it, I think in the list I'm gonna play, because I've got the Rhinos going up with the melee Plague Marines in it, I think these guys are actually gonna be more hang back, use the speed to get angles with the heavy blight launchers, and be my fire support unit, which is quite interesting because it's quite opposite to yourself.
I think that's also a very viable build, because I was also thinking, do you just, do you take 9 fitted Blight Haulers, 3 of these with a Blight Launcher, some Plague Burst Callers, and just try and make a mobile gun line that just moves at the board and it has just enough combat to finish things off. You don't get the shooting. That could well be a build, because the Blight Launcher 36 range, 6 shots. So 6 shots is big, hitting on 3s. Strength 8. Strength 8 again, solid. AP
Really good,
2,
yeah. I mean,
2
especially when
damage.
Contagion comes into play.
These
really
guys
nice.
are killing Marines for fun. And that AP2, especially when you talk about the Lord of Virulence, what I hadn't thought about what you said, you know, getting it so the AP2 counts, because the Lord of Virulence can see every AP2 will go through.
Well, he won't benefit from that, sadly, because it's not a blast weapon. It has to be a blast weapon.
Right.
But AP2 is still, like, nice, don't get me wrong.
Okay, yeah, so good job.
I'm not going to complain at AP2. But again, this guy has the speed to sort of get angles where they won't get cover saves if they need to with fly keyword. Another thing this guy can potentially do is, because he does have fly, is, you know, the big L in your deployment, if he sits up there, this gains the extra AP from being in an elevated position, so then he is AP free.
Okay, so that's quite
so
good.
That could be fun. Again, all these weapons have lethal hits, so 6 to hit auto wounds, so again, this thing can double up as, you know, you gotta remember, all minus 1 damage is gone game wide. Like, it's not a common rule, it's gone now, so like, every wound you squeak through on like a War Dog or an Armiger or a Redemptor Dreadnought, it's doing 2 damage. So like, these things, you know, you sneak 2 wounds through, AP 3 onto a Dread and he fails both them saves, you've just took a third of its health, like, gone.
Yeah.
So
again,
like, I'm really up on these.
Yeah, 5 Bimvam, as we talked about before with the Demon Engines.
That's so important, it's so good.
The only downside is that Fly's changing the core. That's the only thing that's maybe hurt them, but we were saying that might get FAQ.
Yeah, we got to see on that one. They do have that ability as well.
Yeah.
They're eligible to shoot and charge in a turn they fall back, so it's just really nice utility little ability to have there. You know, your flesh maul got stuck into something that's trying to bog it down. Nah, fuck that, piss off and go do something else. Plague Spitter drones are gonna love that. You know, you fly over, you flame something and you charge it to like tie it up or do something. Next turn you fall back, flame another unit, charge again. Really nice. Probably the less useful on the heavy blight launcher drone, and that's probably going to be wanting to like take in more sniping positions. But again, if you need it in a pinch, it's there.
I think the Plague Spit is because we've got so many other options, Plague Burst Crawlers, I mean even the Plague Marines. I don't think you're going to want to take the Plague Spit is because it's just another weapons profile.
I agree. I think it's not because it's bad, it's just because we can get that elsewhere.
Yeah, I think it's the Flesh Mower or the Blight Launcher, and you might even want 2 of one the other, or 1 of each. You know, that's yet to be decided. But I think Fetid Bloat Drones are looking pretty good, to be honest. I think Fetid Bloat Drones and Fetid Blight Haulers are probably the 2 units that we've seen, maybe Plague Burst Crawlers as well, that they can slot in anywhere. I think, but Fetid Bloat Drones and Fetid Blight Haulers to me are the 2 units that I think could probably go into any build.
Yeah, I think they're just going to be like most lists. I think they're a staple unit. They're going to be. I think this is what's exciting. I think we've got, even just looking at this preview, I think I can see like, you know, three different build lists already, and we've not even seen all the lists. We've not seen Poxwalkers, we've not seen all the standard vehicles, we've not seen Biologist Putrefier. You know, maybe there's a Horde list, maybe there's not.
Be good.
Yeah, Belguy could be good. There's so much we still don't know, and I'm already seeing builds of, like you said, Demon Engine Skew, Rhino Rush, Balanced One. I'm so excited to try all these things out, and I think honestly, people that are like dooming on Deathguard being like terrible tier, nah, like these reveals have like really given me a lot of hope, like with our abilities. I don't think we're going to be S tier. I don't think we're going to be, you know, taking home Tauntwings left, right, and centre. But there's definitely a solid little core and army here, and we still don't know all the strats and the enhancements.
Well, so there's a couple of things to sort of add on to that as well. Actually, we've got to mention about the Forge World stuff while we're on this podcast.
Oh yeah.
And then that also links in something else I want to say. I have a suspicion that Hellbrutes might end up being good, because Hellbrutes have been so dog shit in all the codexes they've been in. Maybe Thousand Suns had some play with them, but even then you never saw them. Like,
yeah.
I wonder if Hellbrutes could become really good. Again, maybe they've got an anti-tank profile that we're lacking. So that's something that I'd like to look in, you know, them and Defilers are the 2 that I'm kind of curious about that we haven't seen, and also Poxwalkers.
Yeah.
But as Aiden said, we've got loads to see. I mean, if the points of Land Raiders are efficient, then, you know, probably only need to go and buy Land Raiders if you don't already own one, because as we say, they're really good for our mobility and getting Terminators at the board. So I think at this point, you know, there's a lot to be said, but as we touched on them, if you've got a Contemptor, guys, we're very sorry, but if you haven't already heard the news, Forge World stuff is now banned for competitive play. I have a suspicion that I don't think that's going to stay, because I think that GW are a model selling company, and I think that then maybe underestimate how many people who play 40k buy models. But I don't know. I'm saying that just about pure speculation. Because remember at 9th, Deathguard couldn't use loads of stuff out the Forge World Compendium, and they backtracked a bit and so on. Obviously, I've got some not obviously, but I've got a couple of Terax drills. I've got Contemptors and a couple of other bits. I'm sure loads of people listening have got the Greater Blight drawn. It seems odd to me that they would just say you can't use those models anymore in competitive play. So maybe they'll start the edition without the Forge World Compendium, and then 6 months in they'll sort of backtrack a bit and get round to it. Again, pure speculation, but for the time being. Yeah,
so wait for that to happen before you go and buy anything like Contemptors or Leviathans. As for now, treat it as if they are gone. I cried as I picked my Contemptor out of the pack. I've had a cry in the shower, I had a final dinner with him, sat him down, I'll give him a meal.
Broke up with him.
Broke up with him, told him sorry it's not working out, buddy. And now he's in the drawer behind me, and he'll stay in there until I don't know.
Aww. But if Hellbrutes are good, I'm going to proxy my Contemptors as Hellbrutes because I've got my
because they look way better.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. But I think it is a sad day for Contemptors, but
it is.
At the same time, hopefully we've got other good units to come, and it's going to be good, I think. And again, I think the most important thing to also caveat with this, it isn't the Codex.
Yeah.
In many ways, again, this is sort of like thinking long term, and we'll have to sort of hold our nerve, guys, if we're going to do this. In many ways, it's probably quite good if our index does turn out to be a little bit naff. Because when the Codex comes, I bet GW will overcompensate big time and we'll end up with something way stronger than we would have got otherwise. So it might be that we eat shit for 9 months and just sort of, do our best and, sort of enjoy the struggle. And then when we get our book, it's well worth it, and we spend the next 2 years, the edition, sort of riding high. So, there's positives to look at it from that angle as well. But I do think we're getting our data cards quite soon, I think. It looks like...
Yes, 13th is the rumour. 13th for us.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. So, I mean, obviously, when that happens, we'll get another podcast out, and we can sort of deep dive more. Because will that have the points, Aiden, or is it just going to be more data sheets?
I think it's just data sheets and then points come out later.
Okay, because it's kind of the points, isn't it? It's the frustration that we need. But yeah, I mean, I think it looks good, and one of the things I'm going to do is because I've got the models to make the list that they played on the stream games. I think my flatmate also has demons, and he's got those demons models too. So I think I'm going to start getting some 10th edition games in, just using the data sheets and rules that we've got, and just to start getting feel for it. And maybe sort of next time we're on the podcast, I can have had some games and actually talk about how the units feel in the real world.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. Like I said, I'm so excited. Like when these data sheets come out, I'm going to start playing straight away. Unfortunately, we don't, after our GW rant, that's clearly the reason we haven't been sent an advance copy.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah. Fuck you, GW.
but if you're out there and you've been listening to this and you've been a bit of a doomer, chin up. I promise you, it's honestly not as bad as you think. It's nowhere near as bad as the internet's making it out. Definitely not D tier. I'm excited. I think there's tools here, and there's still like plenty we haven't seen, and I think we're gonna just I think we're going to be a solid mid-tier. I don't see us being the worst at all. Just let's just wait till we get some games in. Let's get the games in. Let's get the reps in, and let's see how we feel. Don't compare us as well to like broken shit, because there's going to be a top dog army.
Yeah, don't compare us to Eldar.
Don't compare us to this. Yeah, Eldar looks fucking cracked at the moment. Again, we might not be. It might just be the case like they've done the opposite, where they've showed all the good Eldar stuff up front, and now they've got to get up to all the shit. Whereas we've been the opposite. We got a bit of the rough stuff at the first, but the actual good stuff then came later. So there's plenty we don't know about. Just be excited for a new edition, guys. Play the army you want. If that's Deathguard, if it's not Deathguard, if you're too Doomer on Deathguard and you're excited about something else, go play that. Don't fucking be fighting on each. I'm so sick of Facebook and stuff at the moment, because people are just fighting. It's like no, Deathguard shit, and then other people are like, you're not allowed to feel upset. It's like, guys, just let each other feel how you feel. If you're upset at the rules, you're upset at the rules. If you're happy about it, happy about it. Just do what makes you happy.
I think the people who feel upset have got valid reason to be.
Yeah,
I think
they do.
There's stuff that looks down, but I also think we haven't seen enough yet to sort of like to let that sort of those initial reactions to sink in too deeply. I think we need to sort of just be optimistic, but also be realistic. And I think is the reality. But I think it's probably a good place to finish it there. I think next episode hopefully we'll have some more data sheets, or maybe even some points.
Strats and stuff like that. We'll see it all basically. If it's out on the 13th, we will know it all then. So bear with us, guys. We'll get the rest of it. I'm going to start cooking up a list as soon as we get points, and then hopefully we can get some games in and start talking about those. But the future is green in my opinion. I'm happy.
I think so, and I think we talked about the last episode as well. I think maybe we'll do it in one episode, maybe we'll do an episode each. But I think it might be fun to, once we've got the points, to build a list on the podcast. It could be me or Aiden. Maybe it's my Demon Engine.
That would be fun, yeah.
Yeah, and we can explain our thinking, critique each other's ideas, and then obviously off the back of that we can sort of go away and we'll have some games in the following weeks. We'll do some feedback, and that could be quite interesting to do and fun for people listening at home as well. And obviously maybe we'll get Don Hewson or some other people, maybe we'll get Garrett back, some of the people who do well with Deathguard, and we'll talk about what list they're looking at. Maybe they can build their list, talk us through. So I think it's going to be an exciting time. Obviously, until further notice, it is the Discussing the Resilient podcast, but we're not sure with the Redacted podcast or what. But we'll cross this bridge when we've seen more of the rules.
2 command points.
Yeah, the 2 command point podcast. There we go. But I'm going to say bye anyway. Hopefully we'll catch you soon, and I'll let you sign off here.
Yep. Yeah, cheers for listening, everyone. I will catch you on the next episode, and chin up. This is going to be an exciting time, regardless of what happens. Let's do this. Woo, 10th.
Oh, one thing we didn't say: this is obviously our 7th episode. It turns out, which is fitting for the fact that we're doing.
Yeah, totally not planned. Totally nail it.
Yeah. Someone upstairs is saying things, so there you go. Could be an omen. Could all be good news going forward. But yeah, thanks again, guys, and look forward to the next one.
Thank you. See you later.